All right, what's happening, guys? Welcome to another episode of Sensible Investing. My name is Jesse, and today we're going to be continuing our look and deep dive into the Chinese stock market as the sell-off has only continued to get worse, while there's plenty of opportunities. So today we're going to be covering what people most commonly know as the Twitter of China. The stock is called Weibo, or for all my Gualo friends out there who can't speak Mandarin, you can just call it Weibo. So, now, this stock is actually a little bit more than the Twitter of China. It's not only the Twitter of China, but you can also call it the Instagram of China, the Vines of China, and even, to an extent, the YouTube of China. So, and China's a very interesting sort of market, and the reason being is because there's a little bit of protectionism within the country, which actually gives opportunities for companies like Weibo to thrive, and the reason being is because, as you know, the government often blocks the big tech companies from overseas from even coming into China. So that actually in itself removes a lot of the competition from externally, allowing these internal platforms to thrive. And much like in the spirit of China, basically it's a bit like whatever you have in the West, they'll do their own version of it, or they'll do it better, or they'll think they'll do it better. But yeah, effectively, they would much rather just do their own version of it. So Weibo is a very interesting company, and it's actually a child company of Sina. So Sina was, I guess, the pioneers of blogging and microblogging and sort of open forum type services in China. So originally they were a service where it allowed Chinese students in the USA to keep in touch with what's actually happening back at home. But eventually, because there was a gap, they launched into a full-on microblogging and blogging type website. And what's interesting about them is that after a period, they actually quickly started to realize the power of social networking and open social networking, which actually caused Sina to give birth to Weibo. And so fast forward a few years, Weibo listed on the NASDAQ, Alibaba took a massive stake, and they became, you know, quite a force to be reckoned with. But what was actually interesting was that at the time, seeing how much Facebook exploded, both Weibo and Tencent saw this as an opportunity to try and dominate and capture the market because they knew how powerful this would be. But what actually cemented Weibo at the top as the preferred and favorite open social networking platform was its strategy. So Weibo spent a lot of time and resources getting these. Now, most of you probably won't know who these people are, but these are very famous celebrities and famous people in China, and they spent a lot of time and effort marketing their platform in the right way and getting all these people to come and use the platform, making them very sticky, and I guess all of their fans very sticky to the platform because, you know, wherever these famous people go, their fans go. While Tencent, they didn't really know how to market their product, and they didn't really know how to market their platform. And so they actually eventually faded away. So what ended up happening was that Weibo now dominates the open social networking market, and Tencent dominates, obviously, the closed networking market, i.e. with their WeChat program. Now, much like all the other Chinese stocks that I will cover, and the one that I previously covered, the microlender, their numbers are actually great, right? So good, healthy growth, you know, very, very profitable, but the sentiment is absolutely disastrous. And the reason being is because, you know, because of all this trade war and all of this fears of the company or the whole economy going into a collapse. But as you can see, I've actually listed here, you know, not only sort of their revenue growth and their net profit growth, but also their monthly and daily active user growth, along with their, you know, various things like EBIT margin, net margin, you know, average revenue per user from advertising, average revenue per user from value-added services, and actually had a look at how their expenses were tracking over time. And as you can see, there's actually really nothing wrong with this company. So it's growing well, it's healthy, and it's got some good margins. So that's actually quite why I'm quite interested in the stock. But the stock is actually extra volatile as well. So as you can see over here, when the market's happy and it's exuberant, Weibo goes absolutely crazy. But as you can see, the volatility is absolutely massive in terms of the drawdowns. But when the market is bearish, as you can see over here, Weibo actually suffers harder than any other stock in China. So when I saw this as an opportunity to take advantage of it when it becomes oversold, which I believe it's heading towards that territory. So let's have a look at why Weibo actually sold off from my research and why I think that's actually irrational and unjustified. So as you can see, this is a sort of 1.5 to 2 year stock chart of Weibo. And what I've done is I've circled each time there was a massive sell-off. And then what I did was I went and actually had a look at the fundamentals of the company and whether that sell-off justified the fundamentals justified the sell-off, and whether whether there was anything actually rational driving the sell-off or not. And as you can see, what I did was I then matched the dates to how the trade war started last year at each of the different events that catalyzed the sell-off, such as the new tariffs coming on board, the follow-up tariffs, the increasing tariffs, the increasing the tariff rate, and etc. And as you can see, not only was the market going absolutely crazy and being too bearish about the stock, but different analysts, different funds, everybody just hated Chinese stocks and hated companies like these. And so that actually created a very negative bearish sentiment. However, if we actually look at whether the trade war, yes, okay, the economy might slow down a little bit, but does it actually directly impact Weibo? And as you can see here, none of what they do is on the list of tariffed items. And not only that, but if we actually look at their numbers growing year over year, ever since 2017, they have been growing their revenue, their net profit, and their monthly and daily active users at a phenomenal rate. And so quickly, what we can see is that much of what the sell-off is doing is basically irrationally selling off a very good and strong company in the fears of an actual total Chinese market slowdown, as you can see here. Now, Weibo is a great company, but its journey hasn't been without its challenges, right? And what actually happened was, back in 2014, they suffered a massive decline of users. And what led to that was actually the Chinese government cracking down on microblogging, because, these bloggers would blog about very sensitive subjects. And as you know, the government is a bit protective. And so anything that potentially damages or defames the government in any way, shape, or form, or sort of the communist ideas, it quickly gets shut down. So you had some very prominent, famous bloggers get arrested. And so what actually happened was a lot of the people started moving towards WeChat, which is Tencent's version of WhatsApp. But nobody was safe, right? So it's not only Weibo that was getting cracked down. As you can see, the government started then auditing and checking and tracking, the private conversations going on to Tencent. So basically, nobody actually had anywhere to go to speak their mind. And so, is it the evil that you know, or the evil that you don't know, or just the evil all around, right? So nobody could actually speak their mind and speak honestly and candidly about what they think about the situation going on in China was. And so this actually then prompted Weibo to change their entire go-to-market strategy, right? Because they knew that talking about very, very serious topics is something that's both intellectually challenging and also risks getting the contributors and followers arrested. And so what they did was they decided to do away with all of the serious stuff and turn Weibo into this community, this open social networking platform where everybody can get together and talk about light-hearted, fun topics. Because the barrier to entry is low, the intellectual level to talk about, what's trending with this celebrity, or what's going on with this gossip, or what's hot. Not only does it reach a wider amount of people, but it's also much easier to digest and consume, And so after they started changing their go-to-market strategy, they actually started bringing in, not just long posts, but you can post short videos, you can post pictures. It's almost like a combination of Vines plus Instagram plus Twitter plus everything else. And so what they also did was they started targeting the tier 3 and tier 4 rural cities in China, because a lot of these people, they don't have a computer, so they have a cell phone, and the cell phone is, I guess, their life, their everything, right? They've got one phone and they do everything on it, and they're always surfing through it. And so what they did was they actually established some really solid partnerships with China's leading phone providers. And as you can see, of all of the providers here, I believe the only one that don't have a partnership is with Huawei, but they have a partnership with everybody else. And so whenever these people buy a phone, especially in the tier 3, tier 4 cities, where they don't have that much money, and so they, buy local brands, one of the first apps that comes pre-installed and recommended by the phone manufacturers to use is Weibo. So not only did they win a lot of people back for what they lost, but they actually expanded to the point where now they have a whole bunch of new users coming in, right? New blood, new people to look at the platform, new people to follow the sort of famous people, and really just solidify and make them very, very sticky to the platform. There was a change in go-to-market strategy and a change in what they presented to the users, and people really, really resonated with that, right? Hence, you can see by their steady growth in users, numbers, profit, etc. So today, Weibo are a very healthy company, right? They've got just under 500 million monthly active users and 200 daily active users. And as you can see here, the good majority of their users come from their mobile platform. So what they did was they really saw a gap in the market, and they captured the gap. Lots of cash on the balance sheet, very little intangible or BS assets on the balance sheet, and almost 3 times coverage, 3 times cash to debt coverage. So very, very financially sound company, not at any risk of going bankrupt or getting into any financial trouble. But not only that, they're also benefiting from the increase in digital ad spending in the Chinese market. It's forecasted to increase, whilst not as much as what it was before. It's still forecasted to grow at a very healthy rate all the way through to 2023. The majority of online advertising will be mobile online digital advertising. So they've got some really nice tailwinds that's going to help push their company into even better heights, working out for them. And I genuinely believe that their moat are their celebrities and KOLs. So KOLs stand for key opinion leaders. Again, kind of like mini celebrities or quasi-celebrities, right? So very, very famous people that have built a very big following, a very strong network, a very sticky user base. And as you can see here, if you add up, all of the combined followers of the top 10 Weibo accounts, that's practically the population of China. Now, obviously, there'll be some people who follow more than one celebrity, but it really just shows you that, they have a lot of sway. And so that's going to be attractive to advertisers, because these celebrities and being able to work with them to create custom digital ads as a service that Weibo boasts, right? And just to show you the reach celebrities have, you can see over here 1.5 billion views for, I don't know who this Wang Yuan guy is, but basically he was lighting up a cigarette in a Beijing restaurant, and that got 1.5 billion views.
Now, who are you wearing? I've got to ask it and get it out of the way.
This is...
Jesus!
So the reach is massive, the exposure is massive, and it really just has a very powerful way to target a lot of people. The other thing is, I think Weibo also has the tailwinds of e-commerce, how important celebrities and KOLs are in the world of e-commerce. I'll give you an example of of a infant formula and milk formula company in Australia that managed to partner with KOLs, and their share price has gone absolutely through the roof, right? So this just really shows you how powerful it is to penetrate these key online and celebrities with a lot of sway, and what that means for e-commerce. And as you can see over here, this is just a quick little ad of a famous person with a lot of followers advertising for a noodle company. So as you can see, this moat, I believe, is a unique differentiator for Weibo, whereby they offer the opportunity for advertisers to partner directly with these famous people, these celebrities, to create custom content that, you know, I don't think many other advertisers can offer. So guys, my concluding remarks. As you can see over here, the population of millennials, people born after 1990s, 1995, 2000, moving forward into the future, these people will then be your future middle class, middle-aged people with a lot of money, and they'll still be very open to technology, and they'll be very open to shopping online, and they'll be very open to continuing to engage with an open social platform. So I think that's a massive tailwind going for Weibo moving forward, and that's going to see continued business and revenue for them going forward many years. And not only that, but the other tailwind, disposable income for the middle class, increasing by about sort of 5, 6, 7% year on year. Just some risks for Weibo, as with any stock, there are always risks. How many of the accounts are actually real users versus zombie accounts, i.e. low paid people to pay to like or follow people on social media? That is a bit of an issue. I would encourage you to do your own research in terms of that. After doing some research, I don't think the number was actually that large. The other real issue is Chinese government censorship. In the past, Weibo has been shut down for periods of 5 days to a week, just because some of their personalities have been posting content that seems to be offensive to the government. Whether they'll shut down the platform completely, I don't think so. Weibo have hired a lot of compliance people, a lot of auditors, and so, you know, they're working closely to make sure that they can play within the rules. So the trade war, it could be a very real risk. The Chinese economy could slow down. People, you know, sort of cut back advertising during times of economic turmoil. You know, that we might get a recession, so the stock might go down to $30, $35, $20. The fight for user engagement also intensifies, and trying to, you know, and everybody's trying to. So having a big user base is one thing, but having them engaged and spending more and more time on your platform is another thing, right? So again, I would recommend you guys having a look at the competitors and doing your own research. I don't think that's going to be too much of an issue for Weibo. I think that they've got great engagement, and they are capturing a good volume of the user base's mindshare. Celebrities, they could go on strike or move to another platform. Again, unlikely because they're so ingrained, but it is a possibility. Oversupply of ads means margin and revenue goes down. You know, millennials might have low loyalty, so they might go platform hopping. Again, it's not likely because the more ingrained you are to the one platform and the more connections you built up, the more likely you are to stay. But again, a little bit of a risk. You know, so and again, markets cooling down in China, so things like auto, property markets cooling down, going into a cyclical downturn. Less people advertising, and again, you know, some of the advertisers, because a large bunch of the Weibo's customers are small medium enterprises, or the ads might not be within the guidelines of the Chinese government regulations. They might get removed, and then, you know, people stop paying. So again, very, very real risks. But again, after doing some extensive research, I do believe that how undervalued Weibo is today, with what they have going for them and what they have coming in the future years, you know, I think that more than justifies the price that we're paying today, and I do see that it will rebound and have a good upside. So guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button, and I'll catch you next time. Until then, happy investing.